Today on ZZZ Made Easy, we're talking about Jane Doe. Jane's a physical anomaly agent from the public security faction. Anomalies are a slightly more complicated topic we're not going to fully discuss here, but we will talk about. At their core, anomaly agents are damage dealers. They want to apply their attributes quickly to trigger anomalies, which is how they deal their damage. As a physical agent, every single one of Jane's attacks apply physical anomaly. She wants to be on the field attacking as much as possible, and Jane has incredibly satisfying after-image visuals with all kinds of flashy moves. Before we discuss said moves, we need to go over Jane's niche. Jane's core passive directly alters the physical anomaly effects. When Jane hits an enemy, they enter the nod state for 10 seconds. If anyone triggers assault on nod enemies, the ensuing flinch state will last for 5 seconds longer, and the assault damage can crit. If you're unfamiliar, assault is a one-time damage proc when you fill the physical anomaly bar. Flinch is the state enemies enter for 10 seconds afterwards, where they take 10% more days. This is when the enemy is glowing yellowish. With Jane, flinch now lasts 15 seconds. Regarding the assault critical hit effect, normally anomalies cannot crit. You do not want to build crit on Jane as a main stat. This core passive has its own crit rate and crit damage values. At max level, Jane has a base 40% crit rate and 50% crit damage value for assault. She can further increase the crit chance by plus 0.16% for every point of anomaly proficiency she has. Doing some math, Jane needs 375 anomaly proficiency to get to 100% crit rate. In ZZZ, crit rate sort of balances itself out because pretty much everyone's moves are multi-hit attacks. However, assault is one proc of damage, so if that doesn't crit, then that's pretty bad. Luckily, Jane wants to build anomaly proficiency anyway because that boosts her anomaly damage. For additional ability, Jane can pair with other public security officers, or she wants a second anomaly agent on the team. You really want this ability active because Jane gets plus 20% physical anomaly build-up rate. Against foes with anomalies active, Jane gets an extra plus 15% build-up rate as well. Anomaly build-up rate is essentially anomaly mastery as stated in the stats page. The higher your build-up rate, the faster you trigger anomalies, and thus the more damage Jane can dish out. After the first assault proc, Jane can get the 15% extra build-up rate, but this also applies to other element anomalies. If you run with a second anomaly agent, Jane can get the extra build-up to proc disorder faster. Besides allowing assault to crit, Jane has a main combat mechanic called the passion state. This is when she gains the reddish orangey after images. In the upper left, Jane has a gauge you need to fill up. Dealing damage, doing a perfect dodge, or doing a defensive assist will grant passion stream, which I'm just going to refer to as passion gauge. Once you fill the gauge, Jane enters passion state. In this state, Jane gets plus 25% anomaly build-up rate, and for every point of anomaly proficiency above 120, Jane gets plus 2 attack. This maxes out at 600 attack, which means you need 420 AP. This passion state also gives Jane some enhanced moves for her dash attack, dodge counter, and quick assist. Every time Jane deals damage in passion state, this will cost some of the gauge. Essentially, Jane's playstyle revolves around attacking or dodging to get into passion state, and then getting increased build-up rate with attack for better anomaly damage until she runs out of steam and has to start over. If you did not know, anomaly damage is based on when you apply the element. This means you don't need to proc assault while in passion state necessarily for max damage. Instead, you want Jane to build up anomaly while in passion state as much as possible. The bonus attack will increase the damage of the assault proc. While attacking drains the passion gauge, there are a couple ways to maintain passion state. First off, perfect dodges and defensive assist still recover gauge while in passion state. This means you can just dodge over and over to maintain gauge. If Jane chain attacks or ultimates, she will refresh passion state. However, you'll notice that immediately after filling the gauge, chain attacks and ultimates will also use the gauge. That's the cost of the extra build-up rate and attack. There was one move that deals damage and refunds passion gauge. This is Jane's Salchow Jump, which is done by holding basic attack while in passion state. You will notice next to the passion gauge is a colored dot. This symbolizes you have one use of Salchow Jump available. This move is Jane's spinning attack, and it has 40% damage reduction. You can hold down the button to extend the spin, or release early to get to the finisher. The releasing finisher move has iframes if you need to dodge something. After the finisher, pressing basic attack will make Jane do a dash attack. Salchow Jump will refill gauge for Jane, but you only get one use per passion state activation. You can actually use it outside of passion state too. If you get the refresh from chain attacks ultimates, Jane will also get another Salchow Jump. While Spin to Win is fun, Jane's mainly dishing out anomalies through her basic attacks. She has a 6-part combo, with the only real specialty being that the 6-string aerial slam has iframes and will go behind enemies. Try to remember Jane's 5th basic string, which is when she makes a circle on the ground. This helps you make a judgment call if you want to iframe an incoming attack with that 6th aerial move. Just to reiterate, Passion State doesn't actually change Jane's basic attack moveset. She does all the same moves, but with the fancy after images. Since Jane is so stylish, she has 2 different dodges. This is mainly just for visual flair though. Press dodge once and Jane swerves left. If you press dodge twice in a row, Jane will swerve right. That's her 2nd dodge, and she alternates left and right. You can dodge backwards with no movement input. For every agent, dodge has a short cooldown after 2 uses. Jane sort of has 3. She can dodge left, right, and left. This does not bypass the hollow zero corruption that messes up your dodge cooldown though. Now the only difference I could find between Jane's 2 dodges is that if you dash attack, you get 2 different moves. They do the same damage in days, but the right side dash attack leads into the 2nd basic attack string, whereas the left side dash attack just starts at the 1st. Salchow Jump's finishing move will lead into the right side dash attack. Now if you perfect dodge, Jane also has 2 different dodge counter moves for left and right. Again, they do the same damage in days, but this time they both lead into the 3rd basic attack string. Despite having 2 animation sets for her 2 dodges, this only happens when Jane's not in Passion State. You really don't need to keep track of which one Jane's doing. Once you're in Passion State, she gets an entirely new dodge, a new dash attack, and a new dodge counter. The Passion Dodge now can pass through smaller enemies, and since Jane has 3 dodges, she can escape sticky situations if you get cornered. For the Passion Dash attack, it has a rather large tracking distance, and will lead into Jane's 4th basic attack string. Salchow Jump's finishing move leads into this Passion Dash attack variation as well. For Jane's Passion Dodge counter, it lasts pretty long and leads into the 5th basic attack string. Jane will finish the circle on the ground, which looks pretty cool. On a related note, if Jane does a quick assist in Passion State, she will basically do the same animation as the Passion Dodge counter. This slide also leads into the 5th basic string. Essentially, Jane's Passion State resumes her basic attack strings more toward the end of the combo. Remember, Jane's 6th basic attack string has iframes while you're in the air, so you can get to this safe move relatively quickly while in Passion State. Let's do a quick recap on Jane's kit. Her core passive causes flinches and lasts for 15 seconds instead of 10 seconds, and it lets the Assault Anomaly crit. It has a crit damage of 50%. But Jane can increase the crit rate with Anomaly proficiency. She wants 275 AP for 100% crit rate. If you can reach 420 AP, then this grants the max plus 600 attack bonus when in the Passion State. Perfect dodges, defensive assist, and dealing damage fill the Passion gauge to reach Passion State. This state grants extra Anomaly build-up rate, and Jane's additional ability also grants more build-up rate with further bonuses against hitting foes with anomalies active. Jane wants to stay in Passion State for as much as possible, but she drains the gauge when dealing damage. You can perfect dodge or use Salchow Jump to regain some gauge back. Chain attacks or ultimates will refresh Passion State. To round out this video, I just want to share some tips regarding Passion Gauge management and dealing damage as Jane. First off, to build Passion Gauge, you can do multiple dodges instead of immediately dodge countering. Jane's perfect dodge builds around 20% gauge, and spamming it a couple times on purpose can build gauge fairly quickly before doing your regular attacks. Once you're in the Passion State, perfect dodges are the main way to gain gauge back. You can consider spamming dodges for longer uptime, and while it's less of a refill, Passion Dodge counters are still a net gain with the benefit of building Anomaly. For stun phases, assuming there isn't another enemy you need to dodge attacks from, Jane has a couple options to wail on the enemy. Assuming she's coming from a chain attack, Jane has roughly 60% gauge remaining. You can do many variations, but here's a full combo using all of Jane's moves. From the chain attack, do an EX special into 5 basic attacks. On the 5th basic, which is when Jane makes a circle on the ground, hold basic attack to do Salchow Jump. Do the whole spin into the finisher, then basic attack 4 times. This will do a dash attack into the 4th, 5th, and 6th basic strings. This will just about deplete all of Passion Gauge. A good tip to know is that doing an EX special into the full 6-hit basic combo will deplete Passion Gauge after a chain attack or ultimate. This is why I stop at 5 basics in the example combo. Between a full 6-hit basic combo or EX special, try to insert Salchow Jump to regain Passion Gauge somewhere. For the most part, Jane doesn't have a set combo you have to do, and this is because she just wants to fill the anomaly bar. If the bar is full, you don't necessarily trigger Assault with the very next hit. if you are close to a full bar and you do EX special, you're going to waste future anomaly buildup because assault doesn't trigger until the very end of the move. This also applies to Jane's ultimate, which fills the bar a lot. For stun phases, you should try to trigger assault to refresh the bar, then use ultimate for the huge buildup. This can lead to back-to-back assaults very quickly. For all anomaly building, you need to play around with each agent's moves to get a feel for how much anomaly is being built. Jane's EX special fills the bar a good amount, so I know I can use it at around halfway for this enemy and then I can proc assault. This experience is going to vary depending on your anomaly mastery and the enemy's build-up resistance. You should also know that even when fully filled up, anomalies won't trigger if your agent isn't the active character on the field. I made a video about this topic and I'll link it in the end card and description if you want to learn more. It's something you can use to your advantage for Disorder. Now, I'm not going to fully get into it, but we should talk about Disorder. To put it very simply, triggering a second anomaly while one is active causes Disorder, which deals damage in days. The second anomaly will then stay on the enemy. Jane is a very solid agent for a Disorder team, where you're ping-ponging two anomalies causing Disorder. From our previous example, in a stun phase, let's say Jane triggers Assault. You can try to trigger a second anomaly for Disorder, and you've seen me using Seth and Reyna for Shock in this video. In my case, Shock stays on the enemy, and I can swap back to Jane, then ult to trigger Assault again. That can proc a second Disorder relatively quickly. I really wanted to try out Disorder teams, and it's very fun, but it also feels very chaotic trying to apply both anomalies. This takes time away from Jane. Because she causes Assault to crit, Jane can very easily do enough damage without focusing on Disorder. If you need another DPS agent or you haven't tried out Anomaly agents, I do think Jane is extremely strong, and most importantly, very fun. It also helps that everything she does in Passion State is just visually awesome as well. That's all I got for this video. Thank you for watching, and have fun with Jane. I will see you in the next one.